College basketball season tipped off Monday night. Here's a look at the favorites to win each of the Power 5 conference tournaments this season. UNC in the ACC, Kentucky in the SEC, Indiana in the Big Ten, Baylor, the Big 12, and Arizona in the Pac-12. Those are your favorites going in. And college season is underway, which means it's time to welcome in Sportsline college basketball analysts Tim Doyle and Zach Cimini. Guys, I got to admit, I don't know about you, Katie. I'm a little overwhelmed at the start of the college basketball season. There is so much going on all at once. I am so happy to kickstart this thing with a couple of guys who know what they're talking about. We're just picking conference champs here. Tim, we're going to start in the ACC. Who you got?
Yeah, boring. I'm going to go with North Carolina. But you're right, Russ. When you start looking at the college basketball schedule, the teams, you have to take a page out of Jesse Spano. I'm so excited. I'm so scared. There's so many transfers. Who's still in school? There's freshmen here. That guy's in college for 6 years. I do know this about North Carolina. You look at their backcourt. Caleb Love is an amazing scorer. R.J. Davis, both those guys were starters last year. Armando Bacot's an absolute monster, double down low machine. And then they add in a transfer from probably one of the best academic institutions I've ever heard of in Northwestern. Ironically, that's where I went to school. But they add in Pete Nance. Now, I heard they paid a hefty ransom for the power forward. Remember, they had Brady Manick last year, the transfer from Oklahoma? Well, that's what they expect Nance to do. But they have guys that have been around the block. And, Zach, I don't know about you. I value experience. Now, these guys are going to have to learn how to dance with one another. I prefer, as we all know, face-to-face dancing. My wife, she likes to back it up on me. So we learned after all these years how to dance at one another. I think North Carolina is the safe bet. There's not a lot of value, but, man, those guys know how to dance.
And then I'm also going to go with an experience factor team with the Virginia Cavaliers plus 500. Tony Bennett's squad has underachieved 2 years ago, 18-7, last year 19-13, but he's had to change it over. He hasn't had the splash recruits lately like he's had in the prior years, so he's had to build from within. 5 returning starters, all upperclassmen. We know the ACC top to bottom has not been as strong as in recent years. This is a team that started to turn the corner a little bit. Even in the NIT, they were making a run until they blew that big lead against St. Bonaventure. So I look at Virginia and Tony Bennett with Coach K gone. He's now the best coach in this conference. I'll take Virginia plus 500.
Tim Doyle's already starting to get loose with it. You have to appreciate that on a Tuesday. All right, the SEC looks to be competitive again. Kentucky is the favorite, plus 180. Wildcats are looking for a little redemption after being bounced out by the 15 seed St. Peter's Peacocks in the first round of the tournament. Arkansas, Tennessee, Bama round out the top 4. Zach, are you going chalk or are you looking for a long shot here to take the SEC?
All right, 3 teams down. I'm going to go with Alabama plus 750. They're looking to repeat for the first time since the mid-'70s. You look at Nate Oates, they have 3 top 25 recruits, 5 top 100 guys, so they're going to have time to get these freshmen acclimated. You look at Javon Quinterly, he's expected back.
Yeah, I'm going to be on the flip side here, and I'm going to take the favorite, Zach. I'm going to go against Alabama in your pick, even though there's value, and I'm going to take Big Blue Nation, Kentucky at plus 180. Yes, I was in Lexington this past weekend, and I got to feel the vibe of Big Blue Nation and how excited they are about this squad. Obviously led by the National Player of the Year contender in Oscar Tshiebwe. He is a beast down low, blocking shots and rebounding. And ironically enough, I sat next to him in a booth at Jeff Ruby's Steakhouse on Friday of the Breeders' Cup. I don't know how Oscar had the table, but more importantly, the table next to me on the other side was Bo Derek. I'll tell you about Bo in a second. Here's what I also like about SEC. CJ Frederick, now at Kentucky, shoots it well from deep, nearly 50% from 3. He's an Iowa transfer. It's another team. Toppin is there. John Calipari has done it before. The SEC used to be a football conference, and now it's top to bottom, better than I've ever seen it before. So you're not going to find immense value in Kentucky, but what I did find value in was Bo Derek, Russ and Katie. She gave me the elevator look. Now, Bo Derek, Perfect 10, this was 40 years ago. Yep. She gave me the elevator. She looked at me, first of all, like I was a bologna sandwich, and then she gave me the head-to-toe checkout. I was like, well, Bo, married, and I need a dinner and a movie before this. I'll take Kentucky here as your favorite.
Oh, very nice. That's a good poll, though.
Solid
in
story.
Lexington, I'd like to know the backstory as to why Bo Derek is there, but we don't have time for that. We're talking Big Ten. A Big Ten team hasn't won the national championship since Michigan State back in 2000, 22 years ago. Its most memorable regular season moment last year, you guys probably remember this, Michigan coach Juwan Howard getting into a fight with Wisconsin coach Greg Gard, right? That was probably the thing I remember most from the Big Ten last year. And then they hardly showed up in the tournament. Good luck with picking the Big Ten champ, Tim.
Yeah, thanks. Obviously, I played in the Big Ten, and yeah, it has not been good, right? Last time they won, Mateen Cleaves was out there dancing with Morris Peterson. It's crazy to think that it was 20 years ago. When I look top to bottom at this conference, I don't think any of these teams are real national championship contenders. That hurts my heart to say that. So I'm going to take the best player who's on the best team, and I'm going to go Trace Jackson Davis, the preseason player of the year for Indiana. His father, Dale Davis, was a bruiser back in the day for the Pacers, playing on those great squads with Antonio Davis and Reggie Miller and Rick Smits. What I like about Trace Jackson Davis, he's left-handed, he's tough, he's got excellent footwork. This is another squad, when you go top to bottom throughout their lineup, Indiana, Miller Kopp has been in the conference now for 5 years, another Northwestern transfer. So they got guys that have been around the block. Mike Woodson has brought in some excellent transfers. This is a team that I think is the most talented top to bottom. But Zach, I got to be honest, I think it's a wide open Big Ten.
Yeah, you find that transparency in the Big Ten every year, the toughest conference. But I'm with you, Tim, with Indiana plus 300. This is a team that's always underachieved in my eyes, whether it was under Coach Miller and then last year with Coach Woodson. They lost 8 of 13 games by 5 points or less. And I think it just takes time whenever you change over from a coaching style to another style, especially with a team that the players stay, because most of the times the players transfer up, but they stayed for Coach Woodson. This team kind of reminds me of Iowa a couple of years ago with Luke Garza when they all came back. This is their chance. This is their opportunity, led by Trace Jackson Davis. I'll take Indiana plus 300.
Finally, some agreement there. They're both on Indiana plus 300. Now on to the Big 12. Baylor and Kansas are neck and neck to win the conference on the odds boards. Vegas giving the slight edge to the Bears at plus 200. That said, the Big 12 has dangerous teams everywhere with a shot to win. Plus, with BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF joining the Big 12 next year, this may be the last season to bet this conference as we know it. Tim, how do you see it?
Katie, it used to just be bet Kansas and go right to the window. Every single year, Bill Self at the end of the day was standing there with the conference championship. But I'm going to take Baylor here just because Scott Drew has built a locomotive. And they come back, they got LJ Cryer, Adam Flagler. Like, they guard exceptionally well, probably top to bottom, the best defensive team in college basketball. And we're talking about who's winning the conference. This conference has won the national championship the last 2 years. And the COVID year, they had 2 number 1 seeds. So I don't care what people say about the other conferences. This is the best basketball conference in the country. Katie, I think you make a great point about who they're going to be adding, just adds to the depth there. I called some TCU games last year. Obviously made a run in the tournament and certainly can make a splash. But I do think this is a coin flip between Kansas and Baylor.
And I think you're actually getting value here with Texas at plus 350 with what you mentioned, Tim. The past 2 title teams are from here with Baylor and Kansas. So the third team on this list is Texas. They underachieved big time last year with Chris Beard's first season with Texas. They were ranked 5th in the country to begin the year. And I look at what happened last year. They had too many impact transfers. That worked at Texas Tech, does not work at Texas. So this year, they just have sixth-year senior Marcus Carr. They brought in Tyrese Hunter from Iowa State, who scored 18 points last year. Now that rotation is dwindled. You're going to have 8-9 guys that are going to know their roles and grow as the season goes on. I'll take Texas plus 350.
I think the Big 12 is going to look different down the line. How about the Pac-12? The Pac-12 in flux. We know USC and UCLA, they're bolting for the Big Ten soon.
Sad.
This is probably the last season of the Pac-12 as we know it as well. Tim, who do you got winning the Pac-12 this year?
Yeah, I got UCLA. I know that's like kind of boring. Jaime Jaquez is out there still with his like great little chin hair, which is like so cool. Like I love that. It's almost like the mustache into the chin hair. It's like very like Robin Hood Men in Tights sort of look. But the guy's a beast. He's a great rebounder. He could score. When he turns his back, he's hard to guard. Tiger Campbell is still in college 15 years later. And then they have a freshman that I saw live who played for Sierra Canyon. His name is Amari Bailey. Remember the name. Lefty, explosive, put the ball on the floor. You could also Google Amari Bailey's mom. You can go down a really black hole that way as far as like things get really weird, but I've done it. I'll be the first to admit it was research, everybody. Research, okay? But Mick Cronin's got guys, veterans. He's got pros. I think this is the most talented team in the Pac-12.
And I'm actually going to go at the top of the list here with Arizona plus 190. Tommy Lloyd has brought over what he did with Gonzaga as an assistant, and that's an ability to play extremely well in the regular season. They won over 30 games last year, and you look at what they did at home. Arizona didn't lose a game last year, and that includes 14 games, or in the Pac-12, they've won by an average margin of 14 points. And I look at what they've done, their ability to recruit outside the U.S., 4 foreign starters. They always have that one blue chip transfer. They have it again this year with Cedric Henderson from Campbell. This is a good team that's going to be great in the regular season, not so much in March Madness, but I'll take them to win the Pac-12 plus 190.
Sharp stuff, guys. I believe that Ari's mom was also linked to dating Drake for a while, something I'm sure Tim found in his research. We'll have to get his take on that one. But lastly, let's talk about the Big East. Creighton coming off that 22-win season. They're the favorite, plus 190, followed by Nova, UConn, and Xavier. All 4 are expected to make some noise this year, which means the conference feels a bit wide open. Zach, who's got your money?
I'm going to go with UConn at plus 375. Coach Hurley, he keeps his teams in games. Last year, they only had 1 bad loss in conference, lost 6 games, 3rd in the conference. And Adam Sanogo, he is as consistent as it gets when it comes to a big man in college basketball. With him in the center and the interior, he's going to control the paint and give you that defensive edge on the other side of the floor. Plus, they bring in 2 blue chip transfers. Tristan Newton, 16 points per game with East Carolina. He's going to be a great fit in the Big East. And Joey Calcaterra off the bench, a transfer from San Diego. He's going to bring that grit on the defensive end of the floor.
I'm going to take the chalk here in Creighton just because I think Greg McDermott, when you talk about X's and O's from an offensive standpoint, one of the best coaches in the country. You're looking at big fella Ryan Kalkbrenner, nearly 14 points a game. I like this. They add in Bailey Shireman, who's the best player in the Summit League. He looks like an old YMCA player. He wears the t-shirt underneath the jersey, and he's always with the herky-jerky moves. I just always have a hard time picking Creighton, even game by game, because Mrs. Doyle went to Creighton. And we went to a game there once. And we're walking around the school, and she's showing me all the buildings. And we get up to a dorm. She goes, "See that window up there?" I go, "Yeah." She goes, "I used to live up there." I said, "Wow, that's pretty cool." She goes, "You don't want to know what happened up there." I go, "We weren't, I knew it was college. Russ, Katie, I get it. We all were in college at one point, okay? I don't need you to rub it in on me right now." So, but I think Creighton's the most balanced team in the Big East. They're my pick.
I'm sure you were at Creighton thinking, yep, feels like the Big East.
Yep, feels like the Big
East. That's
East.
about right, in Omaha.
Tim, Zach, thank you so much for your time tonight. Let's go ahead and recap those picks. Tim is going full chalk, mostly. A lot of favorites in his picks. Zach opting for a little bit more value with his futures. And if you're looking for agreement, well, they both like Indiana to take the Big Ten.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.